Restream before and had the same kind of issues, and we're always like, "Wait, what do we do? How are we doing this?"
Yeah. Yeah. I am trying. Okay, let me see. It says maybe we're online on Facebook. It says that we're sending information hopefully to YouTube, but it might be a different YouTube live. So let me
We're
go and see if
we
that's now a
are
different live.
live on YouTube, but it does
Are
look like
we?
it's different.
It's just a
Yes.
different live.
Yep. So I commented on the one to let people know that we're in a different live.
Oh, yay.
Because technical issues and.
Okay, I
It's
think I
always
see
I always think
us.
it's great, like, especially in moments like this where, like, you and I have been doing this for so long,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's always so fun for me when I'm just like people are like, "Oh, these people have been doing this forever." Don't think that we don't have issues.
Oh, yeah, and it gets exponential, and I put the link in the chat too. Once you, throw in someone else. So, like, you never know, like, their computers, their connections, like,
Yeah.
you just never know, like, all of a sudden, I did an entire live stream where, no one could hear me or no one could hear my guest, it was just we could hear each other fine in the back end, but, like, nope.
You're like,
Okay,
"Oh, well." Always something, always something. I'm
okay, so
gonna
I'm gonna
reshare
sit
the link in,
sharing the link to the
yep,
live stream. I'm gonna
yep.
put that in there for anyone who's here tuning in. Thank you for dealing with us. Well, just period.
We're just
Thank
hanging
you for
out, having
dealing
a
with
good
us,
time.
but loving us through our technical difficulties. If you're out there, please say hello. We would love to say hello. Oh, look, we got a comment. That means someone is seeing us.
Yay!
Oh, victory.
We
Victory.
did it, we did it.
To be on this live stream, you really have to wanna find us. That's all I have to say, so I apologize to you for that. Okay, so I'm pretty darn sure that nobody saw your intro. So
You're right.
welcome to Triple T Thursday. I'm gonna come in and trim right here. Um, Triple T Thursday stands for tips, tricks, and tutorials. Today, I've got a conversation with one of my very good friends, Miss Jessica Hatch, and she has a channel on YouTube called Gone to the Snow Dogs, where she is a cross-platform content creator making content with her dogs. Did I do it? Did I nail it?
You
Did I get it?
did.
That was
You
so
did.
good. Clubhouse, here we come. Welcome back. Which, by the way, we should do that
We
again.
should do stuff on there
I
again.
know, right? We
It's
really
so fun
should.
to I miss it, I really do.
I do too. All right, everyone who is watching, we always, first of all, thank you for tuning in. We always play a very, well, I think it's fascinating and fun game when we get started with our live stream. And that's just because I'm nosy and I want to know. We play a game called What's in Your Cup? So today we'll start with our guest, Miss Jessica. What's in your cup today?
Mine's boring today. I have water in my cup that's falling apart, but I
Oh,
just have water today.
I have
It's
water
late
too.
here, it's almost 9 o'clock here, so you gotta cut off the caffeine a little early so that I can sleep at night.
That's good. I got water too. Mine's just mixed in with some grapes.
Right?
And if you're out there watching, tell us where you're watching from and what is in your cup today. Let us know. I think I saw some coffee. I think we saw usually there's someone out there with tea. There's a
Yeah,
very big debate out there with like coffee and tea drinkers sometimes. And
yeah,
I say like honestly, why not both? I start with coffee in the morning and then I switch to tea at night and it's fine. We can love more than one thing. But I am
yeah.
a Seattle girl, so we always start with coffee. We have to start with coffee.
Right, right.
All right. So I'm so excited to have you here. And it's I feel like it's been forever. It's always so much fun to get to hang out with you. And then
Yeah.
I saw your beautiful face in the shorts community call that
Oh,
we
yeah, yeah.
had a couple days ago, which just
Yep.
prompted me. I was like, wow, I was supposed to send her all the information, calendar invite. Bless your heart. You were all like, yeah, I'll have it in my calendar because we talked about it. I'm like, you're so organized. Look at you.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. I made sure though after we talked, I'm like, because I think I forgot one time before when we did it, and I'm like, as soon as we
Yes.
said it, I'm like, "This is going
Yeah,
in.
this time it's
I
going
am
in the
not
calendar. It's
forgetting
real
this
this
time."
time. Not this time. Not this time. Well, I'm so glad that you're here today. And one thing that I really want to talk to you about is being able to stand out inside of a crowded niche because you happen to be in the pet vloggy type
Space.
sphere, which is a pretty big space. There are a lot of people. It's a very competitive space. I would liken it to almost like beauty or, tech. And like there are these very staunch communities that have a lot of content creators in them. And you've still been able to stand out, thrive. You're in YouTube books. You have over 1 million subscribers now across, just one of your channels, let alone others. So I'm so excited that you're here to chat about all of this, but we have to go back back. What
Way back.
first got you I know, right? Back in the day, which was a Wednesday. What first got you onto YouTube and you were like, "Yes, this is where I need to be."
So, I have actually been a YouTube user since the early days, like since 2006. My very first account is a 2006 YouTube account, like way back in the day. When I first started, it was mainly for uploading like short little videos that we would share with friends and family. And every once in a while, I would upload a video of my dogs, and I think I had like 300 subscribers way back then. And every
That's
once in a
still a
while,
lot. Like, when
for
everything is
way
first
back
like, I don't
then,
wanna discount that. That's a lot for some
right?
people, right? They're like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
and
just
then
300."
yeah.
I know it's not a million, but, like, for some people, it's
But
a
even, like, it is a lot, but even back then, there was such a smaller base of users, so, there was, like, top 100 YouTubers way back in the day was 10,000 subscribers, so, you know, that it's pretty crazy, but I ended up, I followed a couple different YouTubers, one of them, SMP Films, was his channel at the time, and Corey Williams is his name. He had uploaded a video with Nathan Wills where they made this, like, impromptu song on a piano, and they're like, "Hey," and this was when you could do video responses. I don't know
Mm.
if y'all remember that, but it was video responses. And they gave the song away for free. And they're like, "Hey, we want you to upload videos of your pets using this song." It was just a short little song. So I made a video and I uploaded it, and it got like 1,000 views. And he commented on it. Nathan commented on it. And no joke, my brain went, I want to make YouTube videos like all these people I watch on YouTube. I want to do this. I can do this. And I kinda, like, from having been a consumer for, 3 years or so, I was like, I can form a plan, I wanna upload 3 videos a week, I wanna do this, I wanna do this, and I'm gonna make these videos with my dogs." I got all excited, I bought a camera, I told my husband, and he said, I don't want you to be upset if, it doesn't turn out to what you" he didn't want me to get my feelings hurt, and so he was like, I don't want you to be upset if nobody watches," and I'm like, "No, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. This is all for fun." And that was November 29th, 2009. I sat down, I almost named my channel this is crazy. I almost named my channel Shiloh and Shelby the Huskies because those were the 2 original Huskies that actually started the channel with, and I almost named it Shiloh and Shelby the Husky. I was ready to put the name in, and all of a sudden I was like, one day they're not gonna be here anymore, which they're not. Neither of them are here anymore, and I thought, "I don't wanna name it that." People had always made the joke to my husband and I that we'd gone to the dogs because, we have dogs, we don't have kids, and I thought, "Well, we have snow dogs. That's kinda cute. It's gone to the snow dogs." That's how I came up with the name. There it is. That's the name, and the name is stuck ever and I'm glad I did because if it was called Shiloh and Shelby the Huskies today, it'd be kinda sad.
Yeah, no kidding, and, like, what happens when you do name a channel that's a way to have some foresight to, like, have longevity, and you do have to
Right.
think about some of those things, right? Where you're just like, "Oh, I can't just name it, like, what
It's
it's like to
it's
be a teenager," because as soon as
right.
you're not a teenager anymore, then you're like, "Do I have to rename my channel?" Like
Right, how do you go from there? And it's I think it's not that I think you can name, your social media after a certain animal. I mean, you could look at, like, Grumpy Cat. Grumpy Cat
Mhm.
still does stuff, but Grumpy Cat has passed away, and they've gotten new cats, but they're still able to keep going, but it's not the same as what it was before. Like, I did a whole interview, a couple years ago with Vice, and that was what we talked about, was we talked about, what do you do when you have social media pets and you lose one? Like,
Yeah.
what do you do with the name? Do you change the name? And, like, all these people all these different, pet influencers came together and, like, answered these questions on what they would do, and everybody kinda had a different feeling on it. I'm like, I'm just glad I made that decision a long time ago because I love the name, so
It's a great question though, because
it
if you
is.
think about it, unfortunately, pets have sometimes a very short lifespan in comparison to some humans, right? And
Yep,
so
yep,
if you're blessed with 15 to 16 years with a pet, but you are
right,
going to be on YouTube for 30 years, what's going to happen with that name? So I think it was a very smart decision by being able to have a name that's more generic and isn't tied to a specific character.
right,
So
exactly.
yeah, no, that's awesome. So how long were you doing YouTube then before, your family and everyone's like, "Dude, get out of this restaurant. Like, go full time. Go do your thing." I read your chapter. I read your
Chapter
chapter, okay?
7
So
in
if
the
you
YouTube
haven't
formula.
read this is chapter 7 in Daryl Eves's book, okay? So you can go out there. Miss Jessica is a star in chapter 7. Okay, so I kinda know the story a little bit, but I want for anyone who's watching, it takes quite a leap of faith sometimes to go from part-time creator into full-time creator type of space. And so what do you do? Like, how do you feel ready or prepared? Or like, what was that moment where you're like switching, we're going, we're all in on
Right?
this?
Yeah, it was, so we had been doing it 6 years total, but before I took the leap to full time, and I probably could have quit my job and gone full time in about 4 years, but my husband would have had to keep his job. Like, at 4 years, I was making the same amount of money that I was making working at, a standard 9 to 5, running my parents' restaurant, the family restaurant. So I could have gone at 4 years, but I didn't want to because I'm like, "I don't wanna leave, and he's still gotta go to work, so I don't wanna do this until we can both make this jump." And then when, like, the thought was in the back of my head, there was the fear, because everybody has the fear, like, you're leaving a job where you're getting a steady paycheck. You know how much you're getting paid. With YouTube, it's with social media in general, it's different every month. You never know. So when I kinda had the idea that at some point in time we would want to go full time, I started taking and putting the money we were making from the platform, and I was putting it into a savings account, and I'm like, "This is our bubble,"
Smart.
So if we wanna take this leap, we're not gonna constantly be going, "Oh my gosh, we didn't do well enough this month, and now we gotta, how are we gonna pay for this?" Or, "Oh, we can't take a vacation," or, "We can't do this." I wanted to have that sense of security behiand me,
Which
which
is
even all these
ironic when you say anything like about security in the world of YouTube. But anyways,
Right,
yes, go ahead.
right? But, even now to this day, I reevaluate our budget about every 3 months, and I make sure that I have enough of a bubble where if everything were to if the world came to an end tomorrow, we would be okay.
Right.
We would be okay for at least a year. That's what I think gives me peace of mind when creating content, is knowing that I can experiment a little bit, because if things don't go as well as they need to, then it's okay. But yeah, I kinda had, made sure we had this bubble, and then I was still too scared to do it. I didn't wanna jump. I didn't wanna do it. And I ended up my brother had left his job or lost his job or whatever, and he was looking for work, and his wife was looking for work. And literally walked into the deli one day, and my mom looked at me and she's like, "You work 50 hours a week here. You go home and work 40 hours a week." Because I was uploading 3 videos a week. We were vlogging, doing the dogs channel, all Facebook, Instagram, everything. We were doing all of it, plus going to work every day. And my mom kind of just said, "You are in the best position to take this risk. What do you have to lose?" And I'm like,
Like, thanks, mom. Hit me with the
"Yeah." I'm
truth
like,
bomb.
"I guess I don't really have anything to lose." So, and it wasn't like, we had the discussion, and in less than a week, we left the deli. There was
Wow.
no, like, "Oh, we'll do this 6 months from now or a month from now." It was like, "Well, your brother can come in and start and blah, 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 blah," and we went, "You
It's
know what?
perfect
If we"
timing.
and the thing was, is I felt like if we didn't just do it, sometimes you just gotta rip that Band-Aid off. If you
Because
didn't
you will
just
think your
do
way
it.
out of it, right?
Yep, I would've
Oh, yeah.
thought my way out of
I
it.
could totally see that happening for you because, yeah, you were probably ready for a
Oh,
while.
yeah. Yeah, I was definitely ready.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that I think is so lovely about your story too is that you always, anytime I hear you, whether it's in a TubeBuddy live stream that we did together, if it's in a clubhouse room we do together, if it's anywhere that we're chatting together, it's always cross platform. It's not I'm a YouTuber, right?
Right,
Because
right.
people who don't know as well, like you've got a gargantuan following over on Facebook. You have a
Yeah.
huge following on TikTok. You have a large following on Pinterest, right? You have all of these different avenues and Twitter, of course, and Instagram.
Right.
So you are a little bit of everywhere. So one, how do you find a way to be able to distribute all of that content across all these platforms that you need to be on? So I guess we'll start with that before we move on to the next thing.
Ah, the honest answer, I have no idea. I just do it. Like, people are always like, "What's your strategy and how do you do this?" And I'm like, I'm so old school. I literally just, I have my notebooks with my little this one even has notes on it of the things I'm supposed to do before this weekend. But like, I have my notebooks and they sit here, and I'm not kidding. I have 6 notebooks sitting here.
And
I
I love the
write things.
checklist of it all, right?
Yep,
You want to
yep.
like cross it off or like
Yep.
checklist it.
And that's kinda what I do, like, when I create a piece of content, if I'm creating long form content and I know there's bits and pieces that would work as shorter content or would work better other places, if I shortened it down, I'll write it down, make sure to put this here, make sure to put this there, and then, you work through it, and that the stuff gets posted. And then same thing with like the reels and the shorts, those are all separate, but it's like, all right, we made a reel, but this one's got to go here. This one's got to be slightly changed to go to this platform. So I'll just edit the couple different versions and just start uploading them. And I don't know how I get it done, but usually by the end of
But
the
you
day
also
I
have many
go,
years of experience doing this.
yes,
So I
yeah.
think if
And
someone was
I
to
have no
look at your
hobbies.
checklist, I mean, one thing that I think always when I think of your content is that you really have embraced vertical video. It's one
Yes.
of my passions and I love it so much with my whole heart. And it's one of the things that makes it easier to go cross platform, especially on
Yes.
all these different places that accept it, whether it's, IG Reels or TikToks or YouTube Shorts, which you have a separate Shorts channel
Yep.
also doing very, very well. And I feel like it's harder to take sometimes that horizontal widescreen content. And so, do you think about chopping down the middle, or do you think about filming things specifically vertically for all of these places to distribute?
So 90% of the time, I will specifically film vertically. Mainly because I feel like for me, unless the moment in the video is something that I captured was so good that I know it'll perform even if it's not that perfect vertical look, like if you have to put a little bit of blur at the top and blur at the bottom and maybe some text so people don't really notice. If the moment doesn't really make me laugh out loud or an emotional reaction for me or somebody else, in the comments is like, "This moment was amazing," I won't pull it out of long form content. I will create vertical content for those platforms outside of what we're doing. Or if I'm filming a video, like one of the videos we did, we were filming when we got the new pool installed and the dogs were digging in the yard. And I had this vision of, oh, this would make a really cute reel. This is a backwards story. So I started filming Memphis, my oldest dog, digging in this mud hole and just having a good time. And then Kira came in and she started digging. And as my 1 minute of whatever I'm going to cut this down to kind of filled up filming vertical, I didn't stop filming because they were way too cute. And I'm like, this is
They're very
adorable.
cute.
And in my mind, I'm like, the dogs are digging their own pool because that's what was happening. We moved the old pool. They were digging where the new pool was going to be. I filmed like a 5-minute vertical video of the dogs digging the pool. And I actually, again, backwards from what we were kind of talking about, I took that vertical video and I made it into a long form
Mhm.
16:9 video. And the whole time I'm like, nobody's going to watch this. They're going to hate it. It's not formatted right. It, it, it is one of my best performing videos of
Really?
last year. Yeah.
It's a
But
surprising, like, "Oh," but they're cute, so
the moments in it were what made it. Like, and I knew that it would work for vertical content very well. I knew I could put the text and I could make it really cute, but I wasn't sure if it would work the same for long form content. And it did. So I had clips for both. But most of the time, like if I'm filming something, if the dogs are, if we're even just, I'll just use like dog sledding or something. If we're dog sledding and I'm filming a long form, I will film and then I will pull my phone out or I'll turn my camera
yeah.
and I'll film again. Sometimes I repeat the same thing, but I really like that native format for vertical content. I feel like it resonates with your audience better because your vertical viewers know you're filming for them. You didn't just take something and put it there. Not that that doesn't work, because it can still work. You just have to do it right.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And so, I fully embrace vertical, and I think it's just one easy way to be able to check those boxes down the line once you start thinking of, okay, I have this piece of content. And then, it gets overwhelming thinking of all the places that you can put it. But when it's already vertical and it's already formatted and edited and
Yep.
everything, then you'll be like, okay, Pinterest idea pin, there it is. And then all of a sudden it's IG reel. And you literally just go down the boxes and be like,
Yep.
this is the easiest way to distribute across multiple platforms is by having this one shareable 60 seconds or less sometimes, because a few of them will do a few minutes, but really 60
Right.
seconds. And you can just be like, here, and now it's everywhere. And I think that's one of the secrets to being able to distribute widely is
Oh
having
yeah.
vertical under 60 seconds that you can just put anywhere.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be in that moment. It can be like trickled out over a week or a month or whatever, because a lot of the time you can just feed that content into the machine anytime. So
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely makes a big difference.
absolutely. And another thing I really want to, and the whole point of this is saying that you're cross platform by never putting all of your eggs into any one basket. I think it's really
Right.
smart strategically because, we have a lot of people talk a lot about multiple streams of income. And to be able to do that, sometimes you also have to have multiple streams of influence. And so we find a
Right.
lot of people who, right? You're like, oh, I've got this huge audience over here on YouTube, but I've got nothing on Pinterest or nothing on TikTok or nothing on whatever. And you've really managed to have a strong hold on so many platforms. So if one of them went down, people are going to find you on
Right.
some other platform. Can you talk a little bit about how you prioritize those platforms, or like how you're able to grow all of them at the same time? Because a lot of people can't do that.
My my main platform is YouTube. It is still the one I feel like I put the most focus into, long form and short form. I feel like that's the one I tend to put the most focus into. I still to this day, it's the most fun for me, and I know this sounds really silly, but I go to the one that's the most fun. And because I have the most fun on YouTube, I prioritize there. YouTube doesn't necessarily always, make us the most money, but it's the most fun, and when you do this full time, you have to have something that, you're "This is fun and I enjoy this," and so YouTube currently is the most fun. TikTok for a while was as well, but I think that when it comes to going cross-platform and, like, really figuring out where you wanna be, I try to prioritize YouTube. It would probably be YouTube, and then as silly as it is, Facebook, and I didn't really prioritize Facebook for a long time. Like, we would upload there, but I didn't really have a Facebook strategy, but then the page started blowing up, so I was always trying to make sure to have content going up there. I didn't really start putting extra effort into Facebook until we went to a pet convention where the dogs got to do, like, a meet and greet with a bunch of people, and the amount of people that came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, I watch you on Facebook." I heard that more than YouTube. So that was kind of that aha moment to me where I was like, it does matter to be on these platforms, and it does matter because an Instagram consumer isn't necessarily a YouTube consumer, isn't necessarily a Facebook consumer, isn't necessarily a TikTok consumer.
Mhm.
So, as hard as it can be to try to be everywhere, there is a lot of importance behind it. And
And
like
yeah,
go ahead.
I'm right there with you because I believe that sometimes you should be on all the different platforms because you just don't know which platforms are going to accept a specific video for, for what it is. I have
Right,
one specific like 10-second little video that I did for an Amazon shoppable video on a Tarani pump syrup thing,
right.
that you stick in.
Yep.
And it has like 4 views on Amazon. It just crossed 60,000 views on TikTok, and it has 2,000 views on YouTube Shorts, and it has 30 views on Instagram Reels. But the fact is, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But like, if people were to watch it, I don't care where they watch it, if they end up buying it through the, affiliate link or whatever
Right.
else it is, or if
Right.
it's just to get out there. But like, people are so sometimes entrenched in, I'm not doing Facebook or I'm not doing
Right.
whatever it is. And I'm like, but what if that was the platform where 60,000 people would have seen it? Like, why would you limit yourself? And it's not like they have to go up at the same time. I can still dole that
Right.
out whenever, but it's just like for people to sometimes stick their head in the sand and be like, "Oh, I'm not doing X platform." I get it. That's your prerogative, but what if you put all your eggs into the YouTube basket and then all of a sudden you get some community strike and then some
Yep.
other thing you can't even upload. You can't even talk to your audience. So,
YouTube changes the algorithm
all the
changes
time.
on such a basis, like, even, like, what adpocalypse, how many times have
Which
adpocalypses
one?
happened? Right, like, and then the COPA thing with, like, all the kids stuff and changing everything. There's so many variables in all of it, like, you kinda have to put your foot in the water everywhere and just
Right?
see,
You gotta
you
taste
know?
it, and
Yeah,
sometimes certain platforms aren't for certain types of, like, people. It
I
seems like
agree.
all of a sudden, like, people are banging their heads against the wall sometimes trying to make YouTube work when all of a sudden it turns out that they're just really great TikTok creators, and there's
Yeah,
nothing
yep,
wrong with that, but,
yep,
like, if you spend what is that saying? Like, if you spend, all your time telling a bird he's stupid for not being able to, like, swim underwater or something and hold his breath, and, or that was a horrible slaughtering of the same, but I think you know what I mean, right? Or like a
right,
bird will go his whole life thinking he's stupid because he can't swim as well as a fish or something like
right.
that. And I'm just like, you sometimes gotta embrace
Yeah,
the different
yeah,
platforms. And so I think it's to some people's detriment. They just completely um and I do get some people are like very like one and then add and then one and then
right.
add. But I don't think sometimes there's anything wrong with dipping the toes in the water if it's just not that much extra effort to get
It's
it out there.
It can be very overwhelming, and I think that's where, having a little bit of a content strategy, can help, and it's not to say that, a lot of people will say, "Well, I'm gonna start on YouTube, and when I start doing well on YouTube, I'll start going here." Don't wait till you start doing well. once you figured out YouTube, and that doesn't mean doing well. Once you go, on this day, I'm going to upload this video, I filmed this video. Once you have your routine, I don't care if you're getting 5 views on a video or 500,000 views on a video. Once you have your routine and you've got it, you're like, I do this on this day, I do this, I do this. Now add something. Don't wait till you're pulling hundreds of thousands of views, because now, you're missing out somewhere else.
Right.
Slowly, you can easily slowly start adding those things and learning each platform. And there's so many groups, that you can get into on Facebook, where people are super friendly and can help you out, like, or talk to other creator friends of yours that can help you out. But don't wait to try those things, because like you said a few minutes ago, you don't know, it may only have 10 views on YouTube, but you put it over on, I have a friend of mine that's done that. He's doing videos on YouTube that get, like, he's got, I don't know, 30,000 subscribers. He started uploading to Facebook after I kept telling him, you got to try it, you got to try it. He's got over 200,000 followers on Facebook. He's doing better on Facebook than YouTube. And
Yeah.
he never would have done it
And
if I
people
wouldn't have been
forget,
like,
like,
you got to
other
do it.
platforms monetize too, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's like the bonuses, whether, that Instagram is doing, whether, Facebook has its own monetization
Yep.
system. TikTok has a creator fund, even if it does or doesn't pay that well. Like
Right.
almost all of, I know, I'm like, that's a whole other thing. All of the other platforms still have ways to not only monetize, but not only that, you can monetize yourself, whether it's,
Yep.
your own merchandise and whatnot. And I think that you've done a very interesting thing. You have monetized in merchandise when it comes to things like coloring books or
Yeah.
something that wouldn't like necessarily be representative
Oh.
always. I know they're so cute with like a pets channel, right? So people
Yeah.
would probably be like, "Oh, you're probably going to talk about pet toys or food or outdoor things." But you really kind of went another route. Like you've did this, you kind of have done a Patreon, you were
Yep.
signing out like Christmas cards, you were doing a calendar. So do you want to talk a little bit about some of the strategy that comes behind like merchandise and what you decide is a good fit for your channel?
So, we have like standard merch. We have, shirts and things like that. But I guess I've always been the person that's been like, what's different out there that maybe not everybody is doing? We've done pins. We actually have more pins that hopefully are coming out this year. But I try to do things that are, I don't necessarily want to do merchandise that's going to make me a ton of money. Not that I don't want to sell stuff to make money, but I want to sell items to our audience that, like, the coloring books was a perfect example. They're not that expensive, but this, for somebody to have this and be able to
Brings
hold it in
joy.
their hand and, like, color the pictures of the dogs. And we actually, my a friend of mine who edits my videos, he works for me. Last night they did a live stream. They did a coloring night. So, like, our whole audience, well, not our whole audience, but, a bunch of our crossover audience was there, and we all colored pictures together on a live stream, and then everybody posted it in a group. I feel like there's merchandise for merchandise, and then there's merchandise for that community feel.
Yes.
And I feel like the coloring books were the community feel. We did I don't know if you can see them, if they're back there. They're like back there. I have little plushies. We did
I
the
know.
plushies,
They're so
like,
cute.
again, those were something that I wanted people to be able to have, that it's the dog, like, so for me, I try to do a little bit different. I try to be a little bit different than what everybody else is doing, or at least try to get out there before everybody else starts doing it. Like, even when we started those plushies, there weren't that many people doing it, and now the company that I work through is, like, super slammed because everybody figured it out. They're like, "Oh, we can do this, and we can actually pull this off. Now we all gotta do it."
I was
So,
gonna ask you, I feel like you should have that coloring book available as a digital download so that people who
I
use Procreate and everything, they can
yes,
color it in and then they can, export the thing. I was like,
it's
I would like it on my iPad to color.
it is on the list of things to do. I have
Yay!
all of the images. So this was actually, the coloring book. This is one of the autographed ones. The coloring book is
Oh,
actually designed by a longtime subscriber of mine that I became friends with very early in my YouTube career. She has drawn a lot of art for us. She actually did all the artwork for that. And on top of that, we also are already getting ideas for another one. We're like, we did one. It's done great. Why not
you
do another one?
should, like, and they could have different seasons where it's like they're
Yes.
wearing like Santa hats or they're like, the Great Fall Pumpkin. I mean, you could have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, different times of the day, or I mean,
Yeah.
different times of the year. That would be
And
so fun. Okay, I do have
they're
to
so
acknowledge we
easy.
had our first super chat of
Yay!
the stream. So thank you so much to RFS Dan.
Hey,
He said
that's my
supporting
editor.
my creator friends. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much for visiting us and doing a live stream. Usually, typically, with the live stream, I would put on this overlay of bubbles and we would dance under the sea and play music.
Right.
I don't think we can do that, but I'm going to try and hit the button. You let me know if you hear music, and if you do, it's a short 20-second jingle here. You got a boogie, and
Right?
if not, if no one hears it, we're just going to be dancing to no music for fun. Here we go. Here we go.
I hear some
You heard-
music. Here's some music. That's for you, Dan.
I don't know, guys, if you can hear it out there, but
We can hear it.
I know we can hear it.
Going,
It's great. It's rock and roll. Thank you so much for your super chat. And yeah, if you guys are out there, please let us know if you heard that, or to just make us feel super embarrassed, let us know that you heard nothing and our dance moves were spectacular anyway. So we're making do with technical. Oh yes, we got a loud and clear. We hear it. Yay!
We did.
Thank you so much, Dutch Can Jam, Pixelpia. Appreciate you for making us feel good, or being in on the conspiracy. Any of the above.
Right.
Now you also had a Patreon, and that's something that you do also to connect with your community. And I feel like even with a community of over 1 million, let's just say on one platform, you still have some of these relationships with some of your viewers that runs deep. Like you're including them in your coloring book. How do you maintain that kind of level of intimacy with your audience when it's such a large, as you grow and scale? Like how are you able to do that?
It's one of those things, like, over time, you start to recognize names and recognize people that are there through everything. You know, they're there and they're on every video, they're in every group that you run, they're everywhere. And those are the people that you really start to be able to, like you said, our audience is so large, it's hard for me to be able to focus on everybody. But when you see the same name that pops up all the time everywhere, you go, all right, maybe, I want to engage with you more because you've been here for so long, or you're literally everywhere. And sometimes, those conversations just turn into, I have made the most amazing friends through my YouTube channel. I have people that, started off watching our channels that I now talk to on a daily basis. You kind of just, sometimes you click with people, and that's just what happens. Like, I don't know how it happens. It kind of just happens, but it's usually because they're there all the time. I try to I have a Facebook group, I have a Discord. The Discord's Patreon only, but I have a Facebook group, and I try really hard to be in there and responding to people. I try to take little bits of time each day and go in there and respond. And on top of that, it's like going to YouTube and responding to comments and starting those conversations, because you want your audience to know that they've been heard. I think it's really important that they know that they've been heard. Miss Becky actually just commented in the comments. She is 100% one of those people. Becky has been around my audience for forever. I met her in person 2 years ago. She's from Germany. She flew to the Novi Pet Expo to meet the dogs and me, and we got photos together, and she helped me during the event. She's one of those people. She's just been around forever. I'm friends with her on Facebook. We talk every once in a while. She's one of those people that just, somehow we just connected. But that's cool that she's here.
It does happen, and it happens over time and quite organically sometimes, right? Like, absolutely, there are people that I always recognize that are in my, chat, that are in the comments, and people who do show up. We see you. We see you, and even if we're not the best at acknowledging, we see you and we see it.
Right,
That also goes to the bad.
right.
We see you. We see you.
Right.
Stop it.
We might not be able to respond to every single person, but
Yeah.
we do. We know you're there, and we try. We try.
We do try. It is difficult. Okay, we got another super chat. It's Sam's Life with a Husky. I don't know if you've seen her channel. She's got a cute husky too. Okay, it says sending some support. Wow, that was awesome. Sending some support. That alliteration just got me that time. To 2 of my favorite female content creators, cross-platform ones. Thank you for being you. All right, so we're going to try another button and another dance. Now that we know that the music works, are you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Push a button. I hear it. I feel like I should grab the dog. I don't even know where she is.
That one's a shorter one. Don't worry. Thank you so much, Sam's Life with a Husky. Yeah, Jesse. There's one more. I think there's one more soundboard one that I've got. So if anyone else out, like that's it. That's all the original music. It's from my
Right.
Roadcaster. So
Oh,
there's only a
right.
few buttons that are programmed to sound. So I don't have my normal sounds. Like,
Right.
I got nothing. I got nothing right now. Okay, so what is kind of coming up next? I mean, you got world domination, of course, on the to-do list, but like what else is going on in for you and like what's coming up?
Oh my gosh, a lot. We just announced to our audience recently, I don't know if you saw it, but we just landed a brand ambassadorship with Jayco
Yes,
RV.
I saw that.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it was one of my dream brands to work with. Like Jayco and Jeep were literally the top 2 brands. For years I've always said that. Like if I could land a Jayco sponsorship or a Jeep sponsorship,
I
like
could see you with
you know,
Jeep. The
that's the
dogs are always piling and
pinnacle.
being like, "Let's go." I see those
Right?
pictures. Yes, I
Right?
stalk you very much. Yes,
And
yes.
Jeep knows who we are. Jeep, if you're out there listening, hit me
I
up.
love how you
Um,
just gloss over the part that I'm just like,
right.
"Stalk you later," and you're just like, "Cool."
No, I know, trust me.
Oh, I
Um,
know.
but yeah, one of the big things that we're doing this year is we're gonna be doing a lot more traveling because, we gotta get that content, and,
Yeah.
we'll be going to some RV events. Jayco has invited us to some, big RV events. We were supposed to go to one in Florida, but the weather rapidly changed here, and there was no way we were gonna be able to make it down, but we're going to Nashville for an event, and, there's a couple other places we're going. They're on the calendar somewhere, but, like, that's one of the big things that I know that's happening this year is, we'll be doing some really fun stuff with Jayco, and I'm super excited about it because, like I said, our little Jayco camper that we have, it's a 2013, but I love it. And I've loved it since the day we bought it. So, and our audience always says it. They're like, "Oh, you should work with them," and then it finally
And then
happens.
it finally
Dreams do
happens,
come true.
right?
Yeah,
You know, and
yeah,
sometimes we're gonna come back to this point, but quickly, I want to acknowledge for anyone who is out there, please start spamming the comment section with questions that you have, and then Jessica can pull a few of them. So please start doing that, and also drop a thumbs up on this video if you did find it and you found us, because we're sorry that we were on the other one before and it didn't quite work out for us. Okay, so we're soldiering on through the
right?
technical difficulties, but I just wanted to come back to the point that sometimes the collaborations that you want to do with certain companies, they end up coming years and years and years down into an experience or just much later than you sometimes think. And I remember Roberto Blake, he had put some sort of tweet out and he said something like, people's memories are like long,
Yeah,
but your actions are sometimes short. Again, butchered that, not correct at all. But the point is that people remember things that they see here and how you react or, to certain things. And so if you're just out there running your mouth and being a fool and then all of a sudden one day you're going to clean up your act for this favorite brand that you want to work with, that's not usually how it works because they've
right.
probably seen you, observed you, stalked you, and if they start to see stuff like that, of course, like maybe that's not the collab, but also conversely, if they're seeing like, hey, for 5 years or since 2013, since we've had this trailer and we've loved it and we've been in it, they're like, oh wow, they're a real user, a real lover of
Right.
our product. And then all of a sudden it's like, it makes sense, absolutely. And then it's no surprise to your audience that they see you not only with that company but partnering up, and then all of a sudden they're excited for you and they're not
Yes.
calling you a shill and a sellout and all these things.
Right,
They're like,
right.
oh my god, this is amazing, it's about time. Or things that I've seen like in the beauty community, there was a collab that happened between Raw Beauty Christy and ColourPop, but she had been talking about them for 5 years, something like
Right.
that, and like people had continually been pestering the company being like, why don't you partner with, why don't you, and then many years later when she finally got this collab, people were like, oh my gosh, we did this together as a community and they all
Yeah.
got to celebrate it. And it's one of those things where it does sometimes happen like that. And like the years on YouTube are sometimes short and long all at the very same time, right? So it's like you want to
Yes.
work with Jeep today and you're just like, oh man, it didn't happen. And then 5 years later, you're like, dude, it feels like yesterday, but like this makes so much sense. So that stuff does happen frequently.
It it does, and, you just don't give up. Keep tagging them. Keep, every time I post a picture with the Jeeps, and I did the same thing with Jayco for all those years. Every time. Every story I would put, we'd be camping and I would tag them and they would re-story, so they knew who we are, to what you're saying. They knew who we are. I had conversations on Instagram. I've had conversations on Instagram with Jeep, "Hey, can we put this picture here? Can we share this on our Instagram?" Things like that. So, like, they do. They start to know who you are, and when you continuously keep showing up, and it's not like spamming them. Like, be
Yeah,
genuine,
yeah,
you know, be genuine. We were out camping, here's a cool picture, let's tag them. I think when you show that you genuinely like these brands, that's when you really get to build those connections, and yeah, all these years later, I'm still kinda
right?
mind blown that it actually
Well, it's that
happened,
same
but
experience maybe that, Becky may have, where it's like, "Oh, I've been coming to these live streams, or I've been showing up on every video and leaving a comment," and I'm not saying you, Becky, but you being like, "And now I'm making a coloring book with them,"
Right,
or "Now
right.
I'm meeting them and taking photos with them at this pet convention," or whatever else it is, and it's just like, some of those things, they just take longer, just period.
Yeah,
Things
yeah,
sometimes take longer.
yep,
But,
and
okay,
there's nothing
so
wrong
we've
with it.
got that going on for this next year. You got some travel going on, and then all the rest of it, like Facebook, what do you think about sometimes, like, Triller? Remember that?
I do.
Came and went. Or, like, what was the other one? Vero. Or, like,
Yeah. Oh
sometimes you
my
have a lot of
gosh.
these different brands or platforms that kind of up and come and then just leave. But
Yeah.
then sometimes you get the ones that kind of like stay the course. So right now we're seeing this like big battle, if you think about it, between like TikTok and YouTube.
Yes.
And a lot of people are having a tough time deciding, or a lot of people are having this jump trying to go from one to the other. Would you have any advice for someone who maybe was always maybe doing TikTok and is trying to convert over into YouTube, or maybe even conversely, because you are so well versed in all these platforms?
I feel like, you know, if you would have asked me this when TikTok first came out, my advice to most TikTokers would have been, if you wanna make the jump, you need to understand the YouTube platform isn't quite the same. Where now I feel like, because shorts are such a thing on YouTube, making the jump from TikTok to YouTube is a no-brainer.
Never been
Like,
easier, right?
you know, you just do it. But making the jump from YouTube to TikTok, as we were talking about earlier, kind of bringing this full circle, if you're just cutting up snippets of your video and dropping them on TikTok and not also making native content for TikTok, there's nothing wrong with chopping up those old videos and putting them out there and letting people see them on TikTok. But you also need to make that native content for TikTok, because I feel like that resonates with the audience better. I think it's just it's really discovering what works. Don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to take what you do and change it a little bit and see, well, maybe we'll try this. Will this work? Maybe we'll try that. Will that work? I put shorts on my main channel. They worked. If you just
Oh,
want to
you
get
kind of
views.
worked.
I mean, because they performed. I guess that's what I should say. They performed. Did they perform and convert to more views on my long form content? They did not. They just didn't. They're two separate audiences. You know, over time, I think as shorts become more of a thing, I think it'll be easier to cross-pollinate that, but right now, it just wasn't a thing that worked, but I tried it. I learned from it. I learned a lot from it, and I learned that I still wanna make those series, but I'm gonna put them over here. But then I'm also gonna, when I film these series, and this is my idea, because I wanna bring back the Life with the Husky series and the, Husky Facts series, but I'm gonna film them so that I can put them as shorts, but then when I have so many of them, I can also put them as a long form video on my main channel,
Yeah,
but they'll be formatted correctly because I'll be able to film at the same time. So,
yeah.
you know, it's making sure to think about those things as they're happening. But, you know, jumping from platform to platform, you just study and what's working, you know, who's popular on the platform, what are they doing, how are they doing it, you know, are they, and knowing your audience really helps. You know, some people say, well, my audience isn't on TikTok. You'd be surprised. It's all ages. You can find an audience that, you know, your audience will find you there. The people that are like your age demographic, they're there. Trust me. You just got to find them. And to find them, you got to put out content. If you don't put out content, you're right, you're never gonna find them.
And I think you're, like, not brave, but you know what I mean? Like, you're willing to go out there and
Right.
experiment and try things and be like, "Oh, this didn't work," or "This did." Because I think a lot of people just ruminate so long, right? They think their way out of things, and so they're like, "Oh,
Yes.
well, short form content doesn't work," so they just don't
Yeah.
do it. And then meanwhile, here you are with, like, hundreds of thousands of, on shorts channels and on TikTok, right? All of these
Right.
naysayers, and you're like, "You didn't even try it. You didn't even
Right.
go after, you didn't even try." And that's the thing, is at least you can, even if you try and fail, there's still usually some learning lesson in
And
it, right?
and that's the thing, like, you try, you know, was it Daryl Eves? Somebody's, I don't remember who said it, somebody says that, "Fail fast." you try it, fail, you failed. Okay, now what? Change it. Change something you're doing. Try it a little bit differently. That didn't work either. Okay, change it. Don't be afraid to change it. Just because this didn't work doesn't mean you can't look at it and go, what did I learn from this? Let's make this change and try this. Oh, well,
Right.
that worked. You never really fail as long as you learn from it and keep trying, you
Right,
know.
that whole, "I didn't fail, I just learned 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb."
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Right? And you still have to, like, you have to learn it, you have to do it and experience it, but one thing now you're in the pet niche,
Mhm.
and there are so many people in the pet niche, so what advice would you give to people who are trying to break into something that seems so heavily saturated? How are you able to kind of stand out, differentiate yourself, or just make it in a field? It's like someone now breaking into beauty or now
Right.
breaking into tech, like, how do you really kind of go after it and make it your own?
I think there's a lot of truth to being yourself, being the authentic you. It's not that you may have the ideas, like, you watch all these channels and you're like, "I wanna be like this, I wanna be like this, I wanna be like this." You don't wanna be like that. You wanna be you and bring your own personality into that. And I think that that is kind of what can set people apart, even in niches that seem like they're completely saturated. It's not necessarily even that you have to bring something different. You are different. You are the difference. You're the different person than the person that's doing it over here. So when you bring the element of you, I think that to me, I'm not talking data, but to me, I feel like there's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot to be said for you and your personality and what you can bring to a platform. I think there's also a lot to be said about studying what's working. What are people making? Do I want to make content like this? How can I take this? Because I like this, but I kind of want it to be like this. How can I take this and turn it into something that's more my own? Because you don't want to just go out there and blatantly copy, what everybody else is doing, because it's not going to work. Especially if you try to be those people, it's not going to work. You need to be yourself and then figure out how you want to create what it is you want to create. And it sounds really confusing, but it's not. Just be authentic. People want the real you more than they want anything else. That's not to say that, channels that go out there and make different types of content don't work, but I feel like the people that are the most authentic are the people that tend to do the best.
I feel, well, one, I completely agree with you, but two, I also think that people are sometimes so afraid to be themselves. They try to make themselves whatever is popular and is already the
Right.
archetype of what's going well. And audience can smell or see all of the disingenuousness that is coming through
Yeah.
screen and be like, why are you trying to be like PewDiePie? Why are you trying
Right.
to be like Jessica Hatch? We already have a Jessica Hatch. We don't need another, like pseudo Jessica Hatch.
Right.
So, and I think it's so true that people are almost like, well, I just want to emulate what's working instead of showing them me. But the truth
Right.
is, the me part is what makes it interesting for other people, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of
100%.
people don't wanna do that because they're just scared either at their core that people aren't gonna like them. I mean, well, I think it usually comes back to that, or they're so nervous they just you just wanna go after what you have seen be
Right.
successful, but I think a lot of the time it's, "I'm afraid people won't find me interesting, people don't like me very much," and I think what's sad about that is that that is coming from this mindset of people like, "Everyone should love me." And once you kind
Right.
of get over that, like, you're never gonna be everything to everyone and liked, like most of us, like, we're not Dwayne The Rock Johnson, where it's like
Right.
universally loved, right? We're just like,
Right.
we're gonna piss off some people, we're gonna be
Yep.
loved by some people, and a lot of people are gonna be ambivalent. And we
Yep.
don't need to spend our time on the people that hate us and the people that are like, we're just trying to jam out with the people that love us. And like the
Exactly.
sooner that you realize that, I think as a content creator, that you don't have to appeal to everyone, the better off you're gonna be mentally, all that stuff, right? Because you can block, you can delete, you can
Yep.
whatever, but you really have to speak to the people that you want to speak to. And I think a lot of people, when they're first starting, they want to be everything to everyone, and then they get disappointed that no one relates to them.
Right. And, if you really think about it, like, if you think about it recently, think about the people that you see that are blowing up on TikTok. The people that come out of nowhere and you're like, wow, where did this person even come from? And how do they have all these millions of followers and they've only been doing this? But then you really look at their content and you go, they're not doing everything everybody else is doing. They're doing something totally different and it shows. So I feel like there's just that element of you. Just be you. And I know it sounds so cliche. People say that all the time. They're like, "Oh, I've been
Right.
told that my whole life. Just be me, and people will accept me for me." I would rather I would rather be me and have people accept me for me than be something I'm not and have to continuously put on that persona
Right, because
forever
it's
and
an
ever and
act,
ever.
it's a show, and then you're
Yep.
like, "Wait, what am I? Like, do I like
Yeah.
pineapple on pizza or do I not? Did I tell people I like pineapple on pizza or do I not?" You know? And it's just
Right?
like, you either are in t one team or the other, and it's
Yeah.
fine. You don't have to if you are team pineapple, go
Right.
convince the people who are anti-pineapple that they're wrong,
Right.
you know? I'm like,
Right.
"You just sit there in your wrongness and be wrong. I'm gonna go jam out with the people who are into pineapple," you know? And, like,
Right.
people think that, like, "Oh, if I carve out just a specific section, that's gonna limit me," when in fact, it actually sets you more free because you're
Right.
free to be, like, your crazy wild self with the people who jam out with you in that respect. And so I just find, especially with new YouTubers, they're trying to be too many things to too many people, and they don't
Yes.
find out until much later that it's just better to be in with a smaller group, right? The right
Yeah.
viewers, the right
Right.
people.
And I think you're right. I think there are a lot of people that are like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to become full time and I'm going to make all this money and I'm going to blah, 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 blah. There are channels out there that have been doing this for years. It may still be sitting at 5,000 subscribers. And they're some of the happiest creators you'll ever meet because they have a core audience that they've built that they know. And some of them are full time because they've built a core audience that they love, that they know, that supports them in such a way. Just because you don't have a million subscribers doesn't mean anything. Those are just
Right.
numbers,
It's that
like
1,000 true fans, right? It
exactly,
the
exactly.
people who will pay for your membership or your
Yep,
course or whatever, or your Patreon versus having 1,000,000 people follow you, or remember that one influencer on Instagram that couldn't sell 17 T-shirts.
right.
You
Exactly,
know?
exactly.
Right?
I w
Like,
I
influence is not the same just because based on
right.
some social media inflated number, which some people just buy, I mean,
Right.
truthfully. So
Yeah, they do, they do, they do. But
so
I think your core I always call them the core, I call them the hardcore audience or the hardcore podience. Um, I think that
audience, oh!
the I think that core audience, anybody that can build that, those are the people that are going to push you forward. Because everybody talks about creator burnout, and we all have these moments. We all have these moments where we want to quit, but it's that core audience that you really relate with that kind of keeps you going and kind of like gives you that encouragement to hey, it's okay if you don't do this day, we're still here for you. Like, you don't hear that from a general audience, you hear that from your core. And I feel like there's an importance to that. And again, doesn't matter if it's if you have 1,000 subscribers or 100 subscribers or 10 subscribers. Once you have that core of those people who are there with you every single time, it makes a world of difference. And that's why I think the
Yeah.
authenticity is so important.
And I feel like sometimes, again, with newer creators, they're so worried about that next 1,000, that next milestone, the next whatever, they forget to take care of the people that are already there.
Yep.
And it doesn't always go well for them
Yeah.
when they
Yeah.
not like forget where you came from type of thing, but I mean,
Right.
like, every single person is still a person who is,
Yep.
dedicating their own time that they could be spending doing anything to hang out with you. And by
Exactly.
taking them for granted and then being like, "Yeah, but wait until our next 100,000 or wait until our next whatever. Once we hit this milestone, then we're gonna do this." It kind of would probably rub some people the wrong way because it's not just some numbers
Right.
game, right? Like, I think a lot of people reacted. There was that clip with Charlie D'Amelio and um, James Charles where they're like, "Oh, I would like to get to 100,000,000 for whatever." And he's like, "The 57,000,000 wasn't good enough for you," or whatever it was. It's just
Right.
like
Right.
once people started thinking like, "Oh, we're literally just numbers to her. She doesn't care about any of us." Like, that's
Right.
not a great attitude for your audience
It's
to
not.
believe that you have towards them.
Right. Exactly.
Ever. So, ever. So, let me know, how are things going with the pool? And do you still have
It's
snow?
it's frozen, the pool is frozen.
Mhm.
They finished the pool 2 weeks into October. We had a heat wave because if you guys don't know, I live in Northern Michigan, and, we actually had a heat wave, and it was, like, 80 degrees in October, which doesn't happen. So, we turned the heat on, we were able to use it, we were able to film the dogs in it. My nephew actually came over and swam in it, and then mid-October, we shut it down. So, it got installed, we used it, like, twice. Now covered in snow. It's frozen in the backyard and covered in snow until we thaw
If it
out.
was completely frozen and they could walk on it, would that just be a
Oh, they
trip?
could walk on it. It's
Yeah.
frozen.
And they're, like, looking at me like, "Mom, I wanna go
It had
in."
we got a I'm what they call a helicopter dog mom, you know? I like all the time, I'm like, "If we're gonna have a pool, we have to have this, and we have to
Well, I
have an
saw them
auto
with their little
cover."
floaties, their, like, life
Yes.
jackets, and, like, oh,
Yep.
no, I saw it. So,
But it
best
has to
believe
be
I know.
fenced in. It has to be fenced in so they can't get into it. It has to have an auto cover. The auto cover has to be shut whenever we're not out there. So we do have like this auto cover that goes over it. So right now you could walk on the pool. You'd be on a cover, but it's ice underneath there. I was telling my husband that I'm like, that'd be kind of funny to like pull the auto cover off of it and let the dogs walk on the ice. And then I had that moment of, but what if the ice broke? And I'm like, never mind, never mind.
Never mind, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We've
He's
gone
like,
too far.
yep, I'm like, that's a bad idea.
Actually, how do you have that line of what is too far? Like, what is stuff that you're just like, "Nope, we're not doing that ever. Like, we're not crossing that boundary."
Letting my dogs off leash anywhere but in my own backyard. I am one of those people that when I am in public and people have dogs off leash, it drives me absolutely insane. And it your dog may be the most well-behaved dog on the planet, and I understand that, but at the same time, in my mind, it's not your most well-behaved dog that you're worried about. You're worried about the guy over there that dropped the leash of his not well most behaved dog that is now coming straight towards your dog, and you don't have any control. You
Well, first of
don't
all, my
have
dogs would be an amuse-bouche to yours dogs because, like, she's 5
right,
pounds. I had to go get
right?
a new, Bordetella shot yesterday because I'm trying to get her a haircut, and they were like, "Oh, she's overdue." So I was like, "Oh, okay." So they had to
Right.
weigh her, so that's how I know how much she is. But, it's annoying because there's a little park, somewhat close to us that I take the dog sometimes to walk, and so we're on leashes, both of them on
Yeah,
leashes, and then the other day, as I'm, like, walking around, all of a sudden I see this dog come up, and it's like a little, uh and I don't know this dog,
yeah,
and
it's
I'm
terrifying.
looking around, and I'm like, "Where is this dog's owner? Where is their leash?" And they're looking at me like, "Oh, they're friendly," and I'm like, as he's yelling at me from a football field away, and I'm like, "My dog
Yeah.
is not."
Yeah, and
First
you
of
don't
all.
you don't
But,
know. You don't know if that dog running at you is friendly. They can tell you it's
yeah,
friendly, but you also
yeah.
still do not know. Again, I don't care how well trained your dog is. We had a police dog, a fully trained police dog, police canine unit dog that was tracking somebody in the woods north of us. This was like 12 years ago. Caught the scent of a deer and took off, and they
Mm,
never saw the dog again. This was a $30,000
wow.
fully trained canine police unit dog that just
Just gone.
for a moment,
Yeah.
I'm just a dog.
Well, and
And
I picked
yeah,
up my little girl because at one point this other dog, this some other time, not this one, but like this other dog came like barreling at us. And they kind of like shoved me as I'm
right,
holding the dog, trying to get to my smallest dog. And I was just like, "Are you kidding me? Where is
right,
this person's?" And they're always like, "My dog's friendly. It's fine." And I'm like, "That's not okay because I can feel her heartbeat and she's about to
right,
have a heart attack and die."
right.
It's just like, and it's supposed to be, you have to have your dog on a leash. And they're
Yeah,
always looking at me like, "Oh, like, it's not
I we
I'm
get
like,
the
"Put
same
your dog on
thing.
a leash."
When
Like,
we do, like, our travel videos, I always get a lot of comments from people, a lot of people understand it, but a lot of people are like, "Well, how can you be out there? Why don't" like, if my dogs are swimming in the lake, I have a long leash that we put them on, and we go out in the lake. If there's other dogs on the beach that are off leash, we won't do it because I don't want my dog to get tangled with their dog or whatever. But we'll take them out there and we'll let them swim, and I have videos where the dogs are swimming in the lake and they're on leash, and the comments of, "Why wouldn't you just let them off leash?" One, they're Siberian Huskies, and they kinda just go deaf when they're off leash. I mean, if you watch my shorts, there's a
yeah.
reason, I
You're
stand in
like,
the
"It's
door
time to
with
come inside."
Kira.
They're like,
Yeah,
"No." Yeah.
offer her everything in the world, and she ain't coming in. She knows what she's supposed to do. I know what she's supposed
Oh,
to do.
they
She ain't
know.
doing it.
They know.
Yeah. So, I'm not gonna let my dogs off leash, but that is one of those things that, we actually had a while back, we had a brand sponsorship, and that was one of the things they're like, "We want you to take the dog to a park," and I'm like, "No." And, "Well, how come?" I'm like, "No." I said, "I will put her on a 50-foot leash and we can film this." And they're like, "That's not what we want." Then I can't do it. I
Then we can't
can't
do
do
it.
it. I
Yeah.
can't. I
Well,
can't
kudos
let
to
my
you
dog.
though for
But
having
again,
that
like I said,
boundary.
it's one of my helicopter dog mom moments. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do
No,
it.
no, no. I get it. I get it. I get it. Okay,
There's
so
there's okay times to say no to things.
absolutely, right? And I think people, then your audience would even know if they like all of a sudden saw some commercial where your dog's off leash and like, "What? Wait,
Yeah.
what?"
Yeah.
Like they would call you out and be like, "This is weird. This is
I don't wanna
different."
I don't feel comfortable doing things that I think put them at risk of injury, so, like, if we're filming certain videos and I'm like, no, this is I don't think this is a good idea." There was a and I'm not knocking anybody that did it, but there was a video where people were taking, and they were putting, like, Saran wrap in hallways, and then their dogs would run down the hallway and not see the Saran wrap and run into it because, it was like
I don't like
it's the
that.
invisible
Anything
it's
that
the
causes
invisible
physical
barrier.
damage or harm, I don't like.
My thing I kept thinking is, "Oh my gosh, that Saran wrap's gonna wrap around the dog's face and they're gonna panic." And I'm like, "I can't do it. I can't make this video." Like, I did the
Mm-mm.
what the fluff challenge where you drop the blanket and you disappear. That's fun. The dogs are like,
Yeah.
"Where'd you go? Where'd you go?" Like, there's things that I'll do, but then there's other things where there's certain ones I can't do. The peanut butter on the head when they're cutting dogs' nails, that was a viral video that everybody wanted me to do, and I'm like, I can't I can't do that because if you hold your dog's foot wrong and you accidentally clip and now you've because it's easy to do when you're clipping your dog's nails. I Dremel my dog's nails, but if you're clipping your dog's nails and you accidentally cut their quick, now you've hurt them and they may react. There's a good chance they're not going to, but what if they do? You created that situation. I just can't do it. I can't do it.
No, I think it's good to have your own set of ethics when it
Oh
comes
yeah.
to your own
Yeah.
channel because it makes it really easy if some brand deal comes along that makes you try and violate them for you to be like, "Nope, not
Right?
happening,"
Can't
right?
do
And
it.
I think it's really important to have it because I think I had said on my channel, I was like, "You'll probably never ever see me doing an Audible sponsorship." Not that I don't want their like money. It's because I was like, I tell everyone to go get Libby. It's free and hook up with their
Right.
library and like listen to their, and not be limited to a certain amount of books per month. So like it would be very
Right.
disingenuous of me to later come on and be like, let me tell you about Audible. And it may be a great service and there may be books available, obviously, and you don't have the wait list. But for
Right.
me, like I think my people would be like, dude, what?
Right.
Or like if all of a sudden I came in and I was pushing some new streaming service when everyone knows that I use like Restream and I use Ecamm and
Right.
I use like, certain ones that I love. And then I was like, guys, but have you heard about Zoom?
Right. And, to that effect, I review lots of different dog foods. Like, if a company comes to us and they're like, "Hey, we wanna do this on this dog food," I'll research the food and I'll feed it to them. And I had somebody ask me that. They're like, "But what do you feed your dogs?" I'm like, "Currently, instinct. Next month might be wilderness. Next month might be open farm." I rotate my dog's food, and I've always done this. I've done it for years. People are like, "You can't switch your dog's food. It'll make them sick." You buy good dog food, it doesn't make them sick. You do your little, when we go from one brand to the next brand, we switch it over, and I
You
don't
do
do
the
it.
like, mix
Yeah,
together and then like
exactly.
integrate. That's what I do
Yep,
too.
and I don't do it for cost, I do it for variety. I literally do it
Yeah.
because
I do the
maybe they
same because I
Yep,
was like, maybe they don't like I call it stinky salmon food all the time because
yeah,
it's like the salmon flavor, which is very like odor apparently they love it. But like
right,
sometimes I'll go and like, okay, apparently it's wild venison now, but like I will do the mixture at the
yep,
end and then like switch them over.
and
But I think
I
they
feel
want variety too.
exactly, and I feel like I have the freedom to do the different dog food reviews because my audience already knows that I variety feed my dogs. So I'm not, like, stuck in this little, "Oh, I can only feed him this one thing because this is what I feed him, and this is where you're genuine in this." I've tried fresh foods with them. I've done a few different, like, those foods that come already prepackaged.
Mm,
I've reviewed a few of those, and if the dogs like them, 'em, we'll stay on it for a month or 2, and then we go to the next thing, and then we go to the next thing. But like you were saying, I feel like because my audience knows we do that, they're okay when we're like, "Hey, we're gonna try this dog food this month, or this month we're gonna try open farm, and this month we're gonna try, I don't know, Sunday dog food," whatever. I've tried so
yeah.
many, like, in my brain, I'm like, "Oh, we have tried a lotta," and I rotate back to them. The ones that
Yeah.
we've done partnerships with, I rotate back to them, and, gotta give them variety.
So, and it's an interesting point you're bringing up because you're talking about sponsorships and everything. Like, how do you have like some sort of litmus test for brands that you would work with, not work with? Obviously, it looks like things that might put your dog in danger. Nope, not doing it. Brands that
Right.
are unreasonable about things that could put your dogs in danger. Not doing it. But how else are you like interacting with these brand sponsorships and integrating them?
It really I don't do a ton of them with the dog's main channel. I do more on the vlog channel because I feel like I have a little bit more freedom there. On the dog's main channel, I try to stick to, like, really, really pet-focused items. Like, we had I can't remember the name of the company that wanted us to do a brand deal, and we did it, and I said yes, and I wasn't happy that I said yes, and I knew I should have said no, and then I told them, I'm like, "This video isn't gonna perform." Like, I knew it, and I tried even before it went up to say, "Look, I know this isn't going to perform. This, we shouldn't do this. I should have said no in the first place. And they were like, no, we think it'll do fine. I was right. The video was a complete failure because it wasn't. And it was the one time I made the mistake. The one time I said, I will never do that again. I will never second guess that again. Like, and it wasn't that I didn't like the company. I loved the company. I loved what they were doing, but it just wasn't the right fit for the dogs channel. It would have been a better fit for the vlog channel. We have a little bit more freedom over there. You know, it's not just the dogs over there. It's Jamie and I, and what are we doing in our lives? And, you know, what's he fixing today? What are we cooking today? Where are we going today? We have a lot more freedom over there. But for the dogs, the biggest thing for me is I try to make it, you know, companies that we know, companies that we use. I don't really like to, if it's a company I've never heard of before, I will go and research, like, you know, what is it? What are they, you know, what's this product? Is it worth it? Is it going to work? Sometimes I'll buy the stuff and I'll be like, let me play with it before I even decide. Because you know, I don't want to be promoting something if it's not going to work well with our pets. So for me, it's really just a lot of that, really digging into the companies and trying to keep in that pet focused space. And again, that's not to say we don't promote other things. Like we promoted the Alpha movie. It was a Sony movie. We did that, but it fit because it
Yeah.
was, you know, the origin story of dogs, of, you know, people, of man making dogs their best friend or whatever. So it was like that origin story. It fit with who we are and the fact that we have huskies and the huskies kind of look like the dogs. So, and I loved the movie. I loved the idea. So of course we said yes. But I asked so many questions before it. Like I had so many, you know, do we have to do this? Do we have to say, is there a specific thing you're going to make us say? And can you tell us what it is before I say yes? And they're like, oh, no, we want you to do this all in your own words. That's another thing I tend to do. If they have like that set, you have to say
Yeah.
this and you have to say this, I usually give a lot of pushback because I'm
Yeah.
like, I know what my audience wants to hear, you know, or how they want to hear it. And if I read it off a script, it's not going to go as well as if I can just have the key points in my brain and talk about the things authentically in a video. So
Well, I
those
think
are some of
there's
my
something that you're coming out with, which is your guys' brand identity. And then
right,
there's the identity of your audience. And then there's the brand identity of the company that wants to work with you. And they all have
right,
to mesh together well. Because
right,
if it's only good for, you know, like your bottom line, but not really good for the rest, then obviously your audience sees that. So I think it's
exactly,
something that a lot of newer creators don't get correct because they're
right,
just looking at it from like, "Oh, I'm getting money," or "Oh, I'm
right,
getting free product," or whatever else it is. But it's like it's hard to get back credibility if it's gone and you've wasted
right,
it on some, you know, just wasted it is basically is what I would say. Cause like you have so much currency that you have and trust with your
right.
audience and it's really easy to mess that up. And
Yeah.
it's one of those, like, you have to make deposits into that piggy bank before you make a withdrawal, which is sometimes what sponsor content
And
is.
I think
It's like yeah.
I think with sponsored content, the other thing is you don't wanna constantly be shoving things in people's faces. With the style of content that we do, like, it's a little bit different if you're doing, like, a review channel or if you're doing something where you're literally promoting products all the time, that's a little bit different, but we don't do that. So, like, for me, I try to not have more than 1 brand deal a week, you know, especially in our vlogs. I upload 4 vlogs a week, and I try to limit it. If we end up with brand deals, I try to limit it 1 a week, because I don't want every video to be, "Hey, check this out. Hey, check this out. Hey, check this out." I want it to be authentic. I want it to, you know, I'm not pushing a product at you every single time. We did a brand deal, I think it was this week with this company called Heat Tracks, which is really, really cool. I knew the product before they reached out to me. And then when they reached out to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I literally just did all this research on your product. Like, this is amazing. And they sent us these, they're basically heat mats that, again, we live where it snows. They melt the snow. So, like, out my back door, we put these mats. So when the dogs run up to the door, they don't hit ice. They hit these nice rubber mats now. You can turn them on and off. And I'm like, this is like it's the greatest. It was the greatest partnership. The best thing about it was when I told the guy, yeah, we'll work with you. What are your talking points? And he went, I don't know, say whatever you want to say. You've already done the research on the product. I'm like, I can do that.
Yes, absolutely.
I can do
And
that.
that's gonna be a whole topic. I think we're gonna talk about that next week. I'm gonna have a guest on. We're gonna talk all about brand deals. You
Yeah.
know, can you push back? What can you know, what red flags to look for in some of your
Yes.
contracts? You know, there's a lot, you know, when people are
Yeah.
like, we're going to take your video and use it for our own social channels or whatever. And that's a whole other set of like
In
usage rights.
perpetuity.
in perpetuity, things like
Yeah,
that, right? To
yes,
look out, or like those strict talking points, or
yes.
exclusivity clauses and
Oh, yeah.
non-competition clauses, and like how long before and after clauses, and net payment terms, and dissolution or like re-edits. Like there's a lot of like red flags and tape to go through. So I think we'll be talking about that one next week. But
Yeah, that's a
is
good
there
idea.
any like other red flag that you would immediately just be like, if a brand asked me to do this, obviously put my dogs in danger, or like,
Right.
it's some product that I've never heard of. Anything else that you would just be like, nope, like big red flag, not doing that? I know you
If
said
they
perpetuity. That's a big one.
if they yeah, if they require me to, like, leave the ad spot in the video for forever, I'll usually say no. Um, because I don't like that. On the main channel, a lot of the times the ad spots we do on there are, like, edited in a way where, 6 months from now or a year from now or whatever we decide on, I can cut them out. And I do that because 1, the product maybe not even exist by then,
Hmm.
which, then you could cut it out anyway. But also, you got paid to promote that product. You didn't get paid to promote the product for the next 5 years. So if that video starts to take off, well, now it's got this ad spot in it, but you only got paid the one time. So that's something that I always look for is like, no, I don't want to have to leave it in there forever. Not
Or
that
there
thing.
should be an escape clause if like I've seen some in the beauty space where something has come out about the owner of a company, like
Right.
very, very bad stuff, where all of a sudden it's like, I don't want my name associated with that anymore. But
Right.
like, is it legally, does it still have to be there? So like there should probably, maybe that's something you need to look at, an escape
Yeah.
clause for like bad behavior from the brand. When can you take it out?
Yeah.
Because you can go into the back end of editor and maybe just cut
Yep.
out the 30 seconds or whatever the integration spot is. And sometimes you're going to want to have that, because also what happens if you collaborated with something and then they did something illegal? They went to
Right.
jail. They
Right.
murdered someone, whatever it is. Like maybe you don't want that spot with an interview or, integration with that brand on your channel anymore, but are they going to
Right.
come after you because you cut it out?
Right.
So things like that, you got to look at that, because that may be something you need to look at. Of course, no one plans to go out there and murder someone, but like, if it
Right.
happens, maybe you don't want that
You gotta
sitting
be
in your video
prepared.
anymore.
You just wanna be protected. I think that's the biggest thing is you just
Yeah,
you just wanna be
absolutely.
protected.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience that is here listening? Any advice or talking points or future plans for your channel?
Oh, advice for everybody out there, if you're just sitting there thinking about doing it, stop thinking about it and just do it.
Yeah. So much of it
Just
is
do
just
it.
stop
It's
thinking,
all in
just
your head.
execute, right?
Yeah, it's all in your head.
At
Nobody's
least you'll then
stopping you
you'll
but
have the
you.
data, and you'll know, like, oh, my audience liked this or they didn't like this or whatever it is.
Yep.
But you like, otherwise you just spin these stories in your
Yeah.
head, this whole narrative and story of like what's gonna happen. You're just like, or you could just put it out and see what
It
happens.
doesn't have to be perfect. Like,
Never.
you just if you get a little bit better each time, that's all that matters. I don't even have like I have there's closet doors. Like my background, like I podcast in this room. This is what my background looks like. I don't have
It's the
fancy lights. I don't
1%
have
rule, right? Just
yeah,
1%
yeah,
better if you can each
exactly.
time.
Every time we do it, I'm like, we're gonna change this. Maybe we're gonna get this. Next time I'll do this. But I'm at least I'm doing it. I think that's the biggest piece of advice I can
It's
give to
very Nike of
anybody.
you. Just do it.
Just
Just
do
do
it.
it.
Just do it.
Just
It
do it.
sounds a lot harder than, it really is. Once you start doing it, you'll be
Yeah.
glad you did it.
We make everything harder than like
Yeah.
it needs to be, right?
Right, we do,
We
we do.
overthink things, analyze
Yep,
things,
yep.
all of that. Like when you were probably younger in some, middle school crush situation, and you're like, did they mean to smile at me? Did they mean to
Right?
walk by me? Did they mean to brush my hand? Or you could just ask sometimes and do it, right?
Yep,
Whatever.
exactly,
All right, so
exactly.
I'm gonna play a 15-second boogie outro, and we can boogie, and then I'm gonna hit the end stream, and then I'm gonna say goodbye to you after. So I've had this happen before where I'm like, okay, and then the person
Yeah,
just
I
leaves, and
won't
I'm like,
leave.
no, I'm gonna say goodbye to you.
Right?
So everyone out there, thank you so much to Jessica. Can we get some round of applause for Jessica in the chat? Make sure that you say hello, and if you want to go visit her, I in the previous live stream linked her YouTube channel. So I will come back and do that in this live stream as well. So thank you everyone for dealing with us and our technical difficulties. We will see you in a stream very soon. Have a great night, everyone. All right, let's boogie.
Is that your 3rd button?
This is the third. This is it.
We got all kinds of buttons going on here.